Good afternoon. Nadine and myself are very honored to be here today. I think that's the last slide.
Yeah, you want us to finish.
Yeah, you want us to go very quickly, I think. Nadine and myself, my name is John White. I'm the project manager for the reconstruction of NAHR BARED camp. Nadine El-Marouk is the head of the design unit. We both work for UNRWA, which is the United Nations Relief Works Agency. It's the oldest of the UN agencies, established in 1949, arising directly from the Palestinian catastrophe, or Nakba. And UNRWA operates in 5 fields within this region, including Lebanon. And we provide education, health, housing, supports, infrastructure, and some enterprise and business support as well to Palestine refugees. Nadine and myself today are going to talk about the project reconstruction of this camp. It's a unique project for UNRWA. It's the largest project ever undertaken by the agency. And it's the only camp until now that has been reconstructed, that was destroyed and reconstructed in Lebanon. So you can see from this slide, this is the original camp that was built in, or formed in 1951, following the exodus of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees from Palestine. I thought at the beginning that maybe this project would be somehow unique in the context of this Archmarathon event. But listening to some of the earlier presentations today, we have some references to the Palestinians' business in Palestine, and also even as well in relation to the Italian NGO that's working in emergency contexts. So there are interesting connections, I think, between this project and some of the projects you've heard something about before. The whole issue of the Palestine question, if you like, in the context of Lebanon is one that there are many tensions. There's the tensions of displacement of the Palestine refugee community here. There's the tensions of the settlement or the fear of settlement of refugees from other countries in Lebanon. And this is something that I think Lebanese people are very much acutely aware of, and no need for me to say anything on this. The unique feature of NAHR BARED is that we are now working with a twice displaced community that were displaced once from Palestine and then displaced again when the camp was destroyed in 2007. This slide gives an interesting, if you go back, this slide gives an interesting graphic of the evolution of a refugee population over a protracted period of time, from initial displacement to the settling of the camp, to the arrival of family networks, the official camp, and this then somehow becoming extended over time when the original conflict failed to be solved. NAHR BARED is one of 12 camps in Lebanon that UNRWA provides services to. It's based in the north, and it's the second largest camp in Lebanon, with a population now of about 40,000 overall, but at the time of the conflict, about 27,000. As an area of 200,000 square meters and as a reconstruction project, it's also one of the largest reconstruction projects in the region. And one of the unique features of camps in Lebanon, and I think as elsewhere, was that they were set up when families moved from Palestine. They clustered according to their villages of origin. And so, as the previous slide showed, there was many villages that came to the north and settled. And this is important in terms of the project that we're involved in, which is trying to recreate the social geography of the camp. So trying to preserve the neighborhoods, the old village structures that were there since the very beginning. This slide shows the destruction then that happened in 2007. We had some sound effects there earlier. That was some of the artillery bombardment that happened. The camp was totally destroyed. 95% of the buildings were destroyed, and all of the UNRWA compound, which accommodated schools, a health centre, and other NGO buildings. The conflict took place in 2007, lasted for 3 months. The entire population of 27,000 refugees were displaced and had to flee to the surrounding area and other parts of Lebanon. It took 18 months to clear the rubble that was resulted from this, and there were 12,000 pieces of unexploded ordnance, making it one of the highest areas of concentration of unexploded ordnance in the world at the time. Okay. So that gives you something of the background. Nadine now will speak about the whole social architecture project, and at the end then we'll show a video which maybe speaks better than either of us in terms of the experience of the project for Palestine refugees.
Okay. So, as John mentioned, this is a social architecture project, and I want to say that the refugees of NAHR al-BARED camp community in this project are facing the dilemma of belonging to two different spaces. It's the space of the first displacement, which is the villages they were displaced from in 1948, and the second place of displacement, which is the place of refuge, which was destroyed in 2007. So that's why, while designing this project, and while rather than designing from scratch, it was thought of to design this based on the feedback and the recognition from the residents themselves. Why it was thought to be like this? Because we felt that it's not really fair to rebuild the camp as if we're really constructing a site from scratch. It's not like we want to build 1 room or 2 rooms or 3 rooms, like we're asking the people to relive the displacement all over again. So that's why we wanted to keep the memories of the families who lived in this camp. For 60 years, they had assets, they worked in this camp, and they worked hard to obtain. So, okay. So of course, to be able to do that, the most important challenge was to be able to do the mapping for the assets of the community and what they had, so it could be the basis for the reconstruction of NAHR al-BARED camp. So what we worked on is that we tried to work on the mapping of house owners, and later on we worked on the mapping of internal house layouts. To explain a bit about the camp, it was historically constructed with no sort of documentation of its built-up area. So the only way to restore this spatial history of the camp, it was through the residents themselves. So here comes the process. The camp, we tried to divide the camp into sectors. The camp was divided into 4 sectors, as you can see in the mapping. These 4 sectors were diffused or given to lots of volunteers to be able to collect the memory and the feedback from the families. These sectors were divided into blocks. The blocks were divided into sub-blocks. So all this work let's say, diffused to the community and to the volunteers who all helped and worked from the community itself. Each block was handed, Okay, so for us, this is a very valuable document. Why it's a valuable document? Because even with all the camps we have in Lebanon and the Middle East, with the existing camps, we don't have such a detailed mapping. Sorry, it's not working. Is it working? Okay. So here you can see that each household, you see the head of each household. So we took the reference from all the residents. We tried the volunteers coming from the Palestinian camp itself, from Lebanese, from activists. They all tried to move in all the areas where are the scattered families to be able to get this feedback. So this was the most challenging part to do this mapping. After having the mapping of the house owners, we worked on the mapping of internal house layouts as well. Here you see that we had plenty of meetings. There was a combined effort between UNRWA and NBRC. NBRC is a construction commission which was created by the community itself with many activists involved. And these efforts started materializing the structure of the camp. And accordingly, we asked the families to recall the subdivisions of their housing. Okay, 5 minutes only, okay. So let's move with the pictures. Lots of meetings were held to be able to let the families recognize their assets and get the feedback. Here we come to rebuilding the community. Here we face a problem with the security versus the criteria. This must, you know that it was a security issue with UNRWA, so accordingly with this camp. So we had many stakeholders involved in this project. We had the army, we had the Lebanese government, we had the Lebanese Palestinian Dialogue Committee, we had the Antiquities Department. Many stakeholders were involved in the work for this project. We had to submit the master plan 24 times to be accepted by the government. It took us 600 days to get the approval for this master plan. We did plenty of meetings, 60 meetings with the army, with the government, with all the consultants. This shows the criteria, the criteria imposed by the army: a maximum height of 12 meters, 4 floors maximum, a minimum clearance of 3 meters between blocks. In the meantime, we were working on the analysis and the context of the camp. So we tried to highlight the assets and the focal, let's say the important elements in the camp. We had the morphology, the urban morphology. We had big clusters in the camp, which is coming from 4 big villages in northern Palestine. Here we had vital elements like a souk market, like 2 commercial roads. But one negative point, we had the open space. We had density, a big density in this camp, and accordingly we had only 13% of open space inside the whole camp. Okay, this is how we start working on the master plan. This is a layout talking about the maximum area for the blocks, the number of plots for each block, the adduction criteria to be able to fit the needs into footprint and into total built-up area. This is an example of the existing mapping and how we reworked it to be able to fit alleyways and pockets to create a better lighting and ventilation. This is an example. This is a comparison between the old open space and the designed open space, increasing from 13% as a total to 37%. This is an example of the last packages we designed. It's called package 5. This is the old fabric and the comparison with the new fabric. We almost took the same urban morphology and we reworked it to be able to fit it within the needs and the requirements of the community, because this is our main concern. This is a blow up on one of the blocks in this package. Sorry, let me best show you the difference. If you look at the open space, it's only 6% in the block before the war, and now it's increasing to be 19% after the war. Okay, here we produced to be able to have a better image on the with the community. We created big walk-in maps as well to try to explain to let the people walk in on their urban fabric, to see their neighborhoods, to see their clustering. Okay, this was a big open day, public day with the families of package 5 you saw before. Okay, this is an example of a detailed design, how we created the pockets and the alleyway inside each block or each sub-block, and what we try to emphasize on the courtyards and to try to create activities and events. And eventually, this is an image of what has been implemented, and it's technically reflects what we wanted to show or what we wanted to implement with the community. This is another example which shows the lighting and how we worked on a better ventilation and a better lighting with the work on the volume of the camp as well. This is a good example why, because in this package, in these blocks, we used to provide numbers for the plots or for the buildings. This guy tried to identify himself by removing the number and trying to create a frame for his door. So it's like he's creating an identification for himself inside his neighborhood. An additional element we added to this is to be able to identify units or blocks as well, is that each package is we created the color scheme for each package. So if you see the orange one would be package 1, the yellow one will be package 2, the example at the right side with the blue, the dark blue is package 4. The blue, it's not a good image, but it talks about the souk market as well. So this is an image from the souk market where it shows the where we try to emphasize on its vital I don't know what's the word need. Okay, John will be continuing. Okay,
I think we're out of time, so we'll just move very quickly to the remaining slides to give you just some visual images of the camp as it now looks. Sorry. Just to dwell on this one for 1 second, just to put it in overall context, we've had so many challenges with this project. It was originally envisaged that it would take maybe 4 years to reconstruct the camp. Now we're at year 8 and we are at 50%. In some ways you can say that the glass is half empty or half full, in a sense that 50% of the population has been able to return, but still 50% remain displaced. And funding now becomes a critical challenge for the project. It's had many, we faced, the overall cost of the project is 345 million, of which we've managed to raise 208 to date. So we still have a shortfall of 137 million. You can see now in the map there, the areas marked green are reconstructed. The areas marked pink are unfunded, and the areas marked yellow are the reconstruction works are about to commence. So we face many challenges. As you can see, the previous speaker talked about the importance of history and connecting to the past. Also, we found when we cleared the rubble that the remains of a Roman city called Ortosia was underneath the camp. So this required careful negotiations with the Department of General Antiquity, which agreed that we would adopt a unique approach where we would uncover apparent archaeology and then record it, document it, and carefully preserve it. I won't go through all the challenges that we faced, there's almost too many to mention, but it's been an extremely complex project. But it is worth mentioning that it's not just UNRWA that's been involved in this project. We've had many partners on the government end, Khatib and Alami, RELC, many other consultants have been involved in helping to prepare the master plan, prepare the drawings, and implement the reconstruction works.
Can we see the video? Yeah. There's a technique. Well, we can start with question.
الساعة 4:30 صباحاً بدأ القصف على مخيم نهر البارد، فاضطررت أن آخذ أهلي وعيالي ونذهب إلى مخيم البداوي.
لما صار القصف كتير قوي طلعنا أولادنا وطلعنا على البداوي، استقبلنا أخوه عديله لأخوي، قعدنا شهر عنده، بعدين رحنا استأجرنا كراج.
طلعنا الساعة 1 بالليل مع العالم، رحت ما استهدت اخوته ولا بنا قاعدين ولا شيء، نمت عند الناس ما بعرفهم.
من تحت الصواريخ والقصف طلعنا على البداوي، قعدنا بالبداوي بمدارس للأنروا، ننام على البنوكي احنا واولادنا.
إلنا 7 سنين 8 سنين بالبركسات وما مرتاحين. مرضى، في عندنا المرضى، المعيشة صعبة، الناس قاعدة بلا شغل، البركسات مصدة علينا، البركسات بتشر مي، العيشة بالمرة يعني.
الطابق الفوقاني أرضيته كله خشب، وعلى المدة هذا الخشب عم بهتري وعم بهفت تحت. كان عندنا بيت وكل الناس كانت قاعدة ببيوت معززة مكرمة، ورضينا بهالبركسات الحديد ورضينا فيها وقبلنا فيها، بس عم نعاني كثير، في معاناة حقيقية هون.
أول شيء كانت البيوت ملزقة ببعض يعني وصغيرة وزواريب صغيرة. إسا صارت الزواريب أوسع ومبانيها أحسن.
حلم حياتنا نرجع على بيوتنا، هاي أمنية حياتنا نرجع على بيوتنا، نشوف بيوتنا قبل ما نموت.